Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have some book recommendations for you. So recently I had the opportunity to read some books before they were released, and I had also pre-ordered some books. So I have selected a few books out of those to talk about and just to recommend it to you because I had such great time reading them and they're all so different from each other. I just had a really good time and I just wanted to share with you, so let's just get into it. The first book that I want to show you and talk about is something that I'm pretty sure you've already seen on internet, and it's getting its well-deserved attention and hype, and I'm sure that he's already one of your favorite authors already. I think you guessed it, and yes, it's Turtle on the Way Down by John Green. It is a beautiful book, and I think everybody, regardless of the age, should read this book because it's a book that is going to help you to be a better person and just to understand the kind of things other people have to go through, and just be more empathetic and more understanding and more sensitive to people around us. I had a wonderful experience reading this book. It was not an easy book to read because of the things that the protagonist has to go through. So basically, this book is about a 16-year-old girl called Aza, who has to deal with anxiety and OCD. And she's trying to be everything that is expected of her. She's trying to be a good friend, a good daughter. She's trying to be herself more so. But she just keeps getting engulfed by this tightening spiral, as she describes it, and it is just very heartbreaking to see her go through all of this. And I love how John Green did not sugarcoat anything, and he himself deals with OCD, so he was able to make this as personal as possible, and that is just an added bonus to it. I think it was a beautiful experience reading and just relating the author to this. And the characters are smart. They're not how many authors come to write teenagers to be, and that is another thing that I really enjoyed about this book. So it's basically about Aza's life with her mental illness. It's about her struggles, her ups and downs. It's about her coming to terms with her life. It's about her being strong enough to accept things, and it's about her falling and getting up again. And it's this beautiful journey, and I really want you to read it in case you haven't already. I have a blog post on this where I share how I relate to it in certain ways. Although I do not have a mental illness, I do have physical disorders that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And a lot of metaphors that Aza uses to describe her feelings is something that I could relate to as well. In fact, I was thinking of doing a detailed book discussion on this book because I have a lot of pages marked and there were a lot of things that I want to talk about. So I might just do that and just share more things, because my blog posts I usually keep it short, crisp and easy and quick to read. So I might just do a video on that. Let me know if you would like to see it. But yeah, my blog post is linked down below in case you want to know more about the book and how I felt while reading it. It's everything over there. I rate this 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's a beautiful book. It's definitely a must read. Don't miss out on this. The next book that I want to show you is a psychological thriller, and I have spoken about her debut novel before, and I've told you how much I actually fell in love with her writing style and her stories and her books. And now I have been recommending it to so many people, and fortunately they've loved it as much as I have, and now all of us are actually waiting for her third book to release, which I believe is in March of 2018. So the book that I'm talking about is The Breakdown by B.A. Paris, and I love B.A. Paris. I love how she writes. I have spoken about Behind Closed Doors, which is her debut novel, and I'm linking on the screen down below as well. And this I actually liked even better than her first book. It is a very fast-paced, very gripping novel, and the ending is just it is so victorious. Like, it is. I think I love how she basically writes these characters who start off being very helpless and very fearful, but in the end they stand up for themselves and they're these badasses. So completely enjoyed it. It is a complete roller coaster, and I don't want to say a lot about it, but I have a blog post on this and I will link it down below. I also have a video on this and I will link that on the screen. But it was such a fun book to read, and I love B.A. Paris, honestly. So this is the second book. 5 out of 5 stars. The third one is actually a newly released book, which is Battling Injustice by Supriya Vani. I got this from HarperCollins Literary Review, and I'm so glad that I did, because I love non-fiction books, and especially of these sorts. I love where such prominent people have their stories shared in a very personal manner. And this book basically talks about 16 women from across the globe, and Supriya Vani has interviewed them over a span of 7 to 8 years, I think. And the stories and the in-depth to all the stories, I think it's completely worth it. This is one book that I will not just like read and put it on my shelf. I think this is one book that I'm going to go back whenever I need more inspiration or motivation just to do things, because the stories that have been shared for each of these women, it's just incredible. You have Malala Yousafzai, you have Mother Teresa, you have Aung San Suu Kyi, and you have Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And I was thinking of doing a separate video on this, talking about this book in particular, and also just letting you know how nonfiction and I had a bond for the past 2 years. That's nonfiction and books like these were all that I used to read in college, and how it sort of helps me cope with my health and my day-to-day life. So this is definitely something that people our age should pick up and learn and just observe how these people became who they are. And definitely a 5-starter, and stay tuned for the video that I'm thinking of doing on this. The next few books that I will talk about, I have ebooks for those, so I will be linking, I will be inserting a picture of the cover somewhere over here. So the next one that I want to talk about is again non-fiction, and this is something that I honestly have not read anything about before. I was completely clueless before I picked this book up. I'm talking about The Faraway Brothers by Laura Markham, and this is based on the lives of people in El Salvador, Mexico, and regions nearby. Obviously, all of us have heard news of people migrating to America, looking for jobs and everything, and how today's scenario is just getting more and more difficult for them. But I was never aware of the reason why they had to flee from their homeland and look for a place in America, basically. So this story is from the eyes of these twin brothers who've had a terrible and a very tough life in Salvador. And it's the amount of gangs and drugs and violence, and kids as young as 11-12 years old are being recruited in those gangs. They're being killed, the families are being brutally killed, and it's a very bad scenario over there. And it's how they leave from their homeland all alone. There's no adult to supervise or accompany them, and they go through this very tough, very dangerous, almost life-threatening journey, and how they reach America, and how they basically now have to face more problems in looking for like getting all the papers ready and just getting a citizenship over there, then looking for jobs and everything. It is a very difficult book to read because of all the things that you learn of how these young kids have, the things that they have to go through is just very heartbreaking. Laura Markham, I believe, works with an institution where they help, or they try to help children as young as these two twins, who I think 12 or 13, and especially if they're unaccompanied, and just to help them out in settling or just seeing what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. So she has all these statistics and everything, but it's not monotonous to read. Even though the data is figuratively shared, it's not monotonous to read. Rather, for me, for somebody who didn't even know this part of the world is going through, and what it is going through, I think was very interesting to know. So yeah, this is something that I've given 4.5 out of 5 stars or 4 stars on Goodreads, and I do recommend it to you. The next book that I want to talk about is again a non-fiction book. Beautiful non-fiction book. It's called Ink and Water by Lacey J. Davis, and it's an illustrated memoir. It's officially my first graphic novel, because although it was an ebook, like a Kindle version, but I did not read a graphic novel before this. I do differentiate between comics and graphic novels, so this was my first one. And this memoir is basically about her journey with mental illness and eating disorder. So it was, again, not a very easy book to read, but highly inspirational, and The artwork was just, the artwork in itself was so expressive. I think if no words were used and just the artwork was there, I think it was just so expressive, you could have understood what really is happening. And to talk about her ups and downs with the kind of things that she has to deal with, and to have this artwork accompanied, I think it was such a um, like it was such a visual experience. You could almost feel like you're in her shoes and you could feel what is happening. So I do have a blog post on this as well, and it's linked down below. All the blog posts that I've mentioned so far are completely spoiler free, and they're very short and quick to read, so it won't take you much of a time. I don't just review books as reviews, like I share a lot of my thoughts and how I felt and what I gathered from the book. So do go check those out. But this book is just, it's phenomenal. I cannot recommend it enough. It is, I think it's one of those graphic novels that you need to have no matter how expensive it is. It's a beautiful story. I have checked Lacey J. Davis's Instagram handle, and it's so cool what she's doing. So the entire book is just talking about how she falls into depression and how that changes her life, and then she has to deal with anorexia and I think another eating disorder. I read this quite a while back, so I don't remember it, but and it's just, it also reminds you of how you need to be more kind and kinder and more empathetic towards people, because you never know what they're dealing with. And it's also about, I think it's one of those true feminist novels where you have both the male and the female in a very strong and a very balanced, like they share this strength together. And her then boyfriend, I think Jim Ketner, who's now her husband, has basically done the artwork. And I don't think that either of them could have been who they are without each other. Like, they are very strong individuals, and even Lacey, despite the problems that she deals with, she is very strong individually. But they're this very strong team, and they've been through this together. And there was a time when, the relationship could have been just gone, but Lacey, despite her own problems, fought for it, and Jim was there all throughout. So I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I cannot recommend enough. I want to say so many things, but I just have to think not to spoil it for you. But yeah, it's a beautiful story. I think you really, really need to go and check this out. I have all the links to my blog post plus links to these books where you can find on Amazon in my description box. If you want to get any of these, just have a look over there. 5 out of 5 stars for this one. Highly, highly recommended. Now, the last book that I want to talk about is a book that has stayed with me since the time I've read it, and it is historical fiction. Historical fiction is one of my favorite genres, and although books set in or during the World War are very difficult to read, but those are also the books and the settings that I'm most drawn to. And I read a book like this after a very long time. I used to read these every other day before, but I've had a long break of different genres in between and stuff like that. So I'm talking about A Bitter Rain by James D. Shipman. And if you have been following me on Instagram and Goodreads, you'd know my experience with this book as in when I was reading it. It's a beautifully written book, and it's from the perspective of an SS soldier who did not believe in the Nazi ideology but did not have any other choice but to be a soldier in the army. And it's also about this woman who belongs to a Jewish family but does not necessarily follow the religion herself, but regardless, she's been thrown into this concentration camp, and it's about how these two are fending for themselves and their families, and what all problems they have to face, and how strong they are in their character and their values. And it's a lot of things that I did not get to see in other books that I've read set in the same situation and era. So 5 out of 5 stars. I still have this book very fresh in my mind. I have a blog post on this as well, and the author was quite kind enough to read the review himself, and he actually quite liked it. So I think it's a beautiful book. And all these books have just basically, the one common fact in all these books is how they teach you to be kinder and more empathetic and understanding, and just be open to differences, and open to different people, and just understand that everybody goes through different things, and you just got to be good, and like just be good. Like that's what we need to do actually. So yeah, I was quite happy to have read all these books. I loved them equally, and the experience of reading these books have been immensely phenomenal, and I just wanted to share this with you and recommend these to you. So if you want to know more about what genres they are, or how I felt during reading these, while reading these, sorry, and a little more about the books, like I mentioned before, it's all down below in my blog post links, so just go and have a look over there. And if you've read any of these, if you've liked them, if you didn't like them, let me know down in the comments below. I'm always up for a bookish chat, and I can just honestly discuss about these books whenever. So don't think twice, just comment down below on whatever you thought about these books, if you read them, or if you're planning to read them, or just I'm always up for a good bookish conversation. So that's it for today. I'd love to hear some recommendations from you. So if you have any for me, just link them down below, comment down below to let me know, and I'll have a look. And I will have more bookish recommendations for you coming soon, so stay tuned for that. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!